This is the Enrichment Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Enrichment Sports Source. We have a great show for you today. Tennessee coming off a pair of good wins this week, including a blowout of Alabama on the road. And I don't care if Alabama's good or bad. You beat somebody by 17 points in their gym in the SEC, it's a good win. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss signing day, which is coming up on Wednesday. We'll talk about the Super Bowl and Peyton. So it is your day. Tons of Peyton, lots of UT recruiting, and UT on a hot streak. It's a good day. Glad you're with us. First segment of our show, as always, brought to you by the folks at Enrichment Federal Credit Union. If you love your car but not your car payment, and you didn't finance through Enrichment, now you have a second chance. Enrichment Federal Credit Union will pay you as much as $200 back when you move your auto loan from another lender. And there's a good chance you'll reduce your monthly payment and get a lower interest rate. Enrichment Federal Credit Union, just another way that they do a great job of preparing you for the best ways to bank. I think we're having a graphic problem there. It looks like our switcher has hung up. So we'll continue just as though this is a radio broadcast for the moment. All right, Tennessee versus, yeah, exactly. Welcome to television in the 2000s. Tennessee versus Alabama last night. The Vols win by 17 points, 76-59. I don't think anybody saw that one coming. Let's talk a bit about the way that Tennessee won that game. First of all, Darius Thompson starts at point. Mark, what did you think of his performance?
I think he's a very good asset to have because he's a guy that just wants to get to spots and facilitate our offense. Alabama tried to do some things and speed up the freshman with the pressure, and he handled it pretty well. But he knocked down his first three, which was impressive. He's a guy I think that's going to be a really good player for this program for a long time.
Your thoughts on the switch from Barton to Thompson?
So far, it looks like it worked. So far, for the last two games, this looks like the Tennessee team that I think everybody. I watched that game yesterday and thought that Tennessee finally looked like the team that you thought that they would look like all season. And I thought that was, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong or disagree, that was their best performance of the year.
Well, and I think it was because it wasn't one of those we shoot 75% from three and just one of those games that we're feeling great the whole game. We shot 40% from three. We defended them. You're exactly right. It was the team that I think we all expected, a dominant performance by Jarnell, dominating performance by Jordan. It's a team that we expected them to be.
And Thompson had, 5 assists?
Mm-hmm. But you also see, part of this is just basketball. Mike Strange wrote it earlier in the week. Shots fall, hey, that's a good-looking team. Shots don't fall, they stink. The coach is an idiot, fire them all.
I thought there were a couple of things. One is I thought their zone defense was effective. I thought their zone offense was effective. And they did a pretty good job against Alabama's press as well. So they only had 5 turnovers, which goes to handling the ball well, which probably goes also to Thompson. But here was another thing that was interesting to me. In the first half, Tennessee hit some threes. Mm-hmm. Tennessee was 2 of 12 from 2-point shots in the first half, 12 of 16 on 2-point shots in the second half. They did a lot better job of finishing and getting the ball inside in the second half.
I also think Tennessee took advantage of that stretch in the second half where it seemed like every time Alabama turned around there was a foul called on them. There was about 4, maybe 5 fouls called, just boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And I just thought that might have been one of the oddest segments of basketball I've seen this season.
Yeah, it's all of that. We had talked 2 or 3 weeks ago about how there were minutes to be had at the point guard position. That's where you could really have some help. What I liked, too, was you had a good first half, and then Alabama made a run and could have taken the lead.
A couple of times.
Yeah. And you responded on the road. So, I thought it was a great win. I really did.
Talking about the 1-3-1 defense that Tennessee threw out there. Your thoughts on that? I saw you commenting on that on Twitter last night. Need to follow this guy on Twitter. Also, anyone out there who's considering advertising on the Sports Source, if you saw how long that enrichment plug just stood there and floated, really, that's the kind of stuff we do every week around here. Your thoughts on the 1-3-1 defense?
Well, just like Jimmy said, I think it was huge. It changed the tempo of the game. Alabama was starting a little comfortable against our man, and it just threw them for a loop. Our length, and coaches tried it the last couple of years in practice. With that length that we have It's just why Syracuse's zone defense is so hard. They get up on those wings and they make it really difficult to get the ball to spots that the offense wants to get
And
it.
especially if you're Alabama and you have worked almost exclusively in your game plan against man-to-man defense. And here you thought it's something we've talked about several times, that I love being able to put something out there and just see if it works. If it does, stay with it.
And I wish we would do it in December and not all. Last year it's been February. It's been that month that we go to that 3/4 court trap last year, and this year it's the 1-3-1.
I do want to show. I'll throw our director Cruz as if the
really
switcher,
not.
as if he wasn't thrown enough by the switcher going nuts. You mentioned February. Let's see if I can get that without the glare. There we go. We're good, Cruz. You can just leave it right there. There is Conzo Martin's records by month, by year. All right, first season in November, December, 6-6, 8-3 the next year, 8-4 this year. January, 4-6, 3-5, 4-3. Kind of struggles in January. February, 7-1, 6-2, 1-0. He's 14-3 in the month of February, and that I calculated that last night. So if the date's wrong there, I apologize. But the gist is the same. Kind of struggle in November, December. They struggle a little more than you would think against non-conference opponents. January, they always have a rough go of it. February, they get hot, and in March, they kind of go 500 on them. But my question, and you've seen it on the neon wipey board behind Jimmy and Bob's head, their RPI today, all the way up to 40 after that win last night. Strength of schedule all the way up to number 15. Question, though. Is it too little too late, getting back to the December thing, because the back half of the schedule, we've shown you this all the way back to December, the back half of that schedule is chock full of the SEC's worst. So your RPI, your strength of schedule, they're going to take a bit of a dip. It looks good right now, and certainly you want to keep that thing going, but is it too little too late considering where the schedule is going to take them?
No, and I don't even want, I don't even think you really want to think that way. You just want to go win your next game. Tennessee's finally won
Well,
back-to-back.
we're not the team, Chuck.
I know, but that's the way you want to. No, it's not too little too late.
Okay.
You finally won back-to-back games in the SEC.
I'm
Get on a roll and keep it
Cavaliers the
going.
question.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
If they're in the 30s going into the last 6 games, they're going to be all right. But if they're not, they have to take care of business till they get to the last 6, because as we've talked about, 5 of the last 6 have bad RPI. Missouri's the exception. So even if you win those, of course you can't afford to lose them, but even if you win those, you're going to hurt your RPI a little bit because of the opponent's RPI. So you need to be, in my opinion, in the 30s before you hit that stretch.
Well, it's possible that with Missouri, you're not even, if they don't pick things up on their end, it's possible you're not going to have a single top 50 opponent after your second game with Florida. That doesn't do you much favors. And then when you've got games against Auburn, Texas A&M, and Georgia, Mississippi State, all teams outside the top 100, I'm just doing the math. You may not like the math, but the math says they're going to have that 40 RPI is going to take a dip. They better win now before that schedule takes a turn for the South.
Well, or use
South.
a weak SEC in your favor. That's a benefit of the RPI might not be what it's going to be, but if you win those games, your record's going to get you there. Your RPI is going to still stay all right, rather than playing a crazy schedule like Alabama. They have a great schedule. They ain't beat nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
So now they're terrible, and everybody wants Anthony Grant fired. Win your games, and you're fine. And so the schedule might be weak on paper, but that's a good thing. We can go and win our last 6 games.
You know what? I would have sounded like Mark just about 3 years ago. But if you sit there and look at the numbers, if you get outside 50 on the RPI, you're in a lot of trouble. And John has convinced me to watch these numbers. He has been
do it
the
every
numbers
year.
guru.
Right.
And you're a numbers guru too. If your RPI is outside the top 50. But your point is, if you can get that RPI, as Jimmy said, up into the 35, 36 range, and you keep winning, if you win all those games against those dud teams, your RPI is going to stay in a range where you can get in.
Especially because a lot of those are on the road.
But I used to always think if you won 22 and you're in the
You're-
SEC
but
that you got to go there.
yeah,
It's not that automatic anymore.
And
Yeah.
you need to show you're one of the top. You're one of the top 3 teams in the SEC.
And Florida's going to be a 1
take
seed
care of
because they're
business.
beating these same opponents. Florida is, and they're going to be a 1 seed. I mean, it's
They came in. They had a better non-conference record coming
1
in,
or
though.
2. Florida will be a 1 or 2.
But
They
they're
may be
moving
a
up.
2.
Yeah. All right. Very good. When we come back, we're going to talk about coaches in the SEC. And yes, it's the obligatory Bruce Pearl question of the week. Come on back on the Enrichment Sports Source.